yesterday I had the opportunity to spend some time with entrepreneurs and learn about building their business and growing their business. But I thought about it's so late right now. And I was thinking to myself, I actually believe in the core of me that everybody should start a business. And I know that that sounds crazy. And I realize that there's going to be an argument out there that says, well, some people are just not fit to start businesses. They're fit to be worker bees. I get it. I hear you. I'm with you. But here's what I know. Where is one thing I know for certain? There's constantly this conversation about being broke, not having enough money, being frustrated, not knowing where to turn next, not knowing how to change your circumstances, not knowing how to get out from where you are. Here is what Tiffany Largie knows for certain. The only way that you in this country can instantly get out of the broke cycle is by starting a business. That's it. Yes, you know how many times I hear people talk about, oh, it's in real estate or it's in something else. It's in stocks and investing. And yes, could we all argue and say there's wealth in that? There's something for us to do in that? Possibly. But here's what I know for sure. It takes money for me to invest, right? So therefore, I've got to have money to make money. Does that make sense? Like I actually have to have money to make money. I have to have money to invest. So that's not the way to wealth. It's not the way to wealth. Yesterday when I had all these amazing entrepreneurs in this room, I'm in Chicago, and I'm listening to them talking about their business and how they were able to change their circumstances and where they came from in the walks of life. And you know what I realized? It's not about education. It's not about background. It's not about anything else. It's not about who you know. It's really and truly about starting a business. Like there is no other secret weapon. There's no other path. Yes, we could talk about real estate, but here's the reality about real estate. Even though I think for those who have should, but here's what I know for certain about real estate. Watch us change this in a moment. You ready? Hey. It's not hard to hear me now, is it? It's not hard to hear me now, right? It shouldn't be. Boom! Awesome! How exciting! So, this conversation is really simple. Yesterday, we did a live event. We're on a tour for the Where's Your Business Going workshop, and I started to think about my own background. I started to think about all the people who were in this room and having, this dream, this vision, this objective, and it's like, how do I get out of my situation? How do I get from where I am to where I want to be? And 210%, I believe wholeheartedly. There are some people who might argue and say, you know what, Tiffany, real estate is the way to wealth. There are some people who are going to tell me that investing is the way to wealth. But for a person who doesn't know where to go, doesn't know what to do next, doesn't have the degree, doesn't have the education, doesn't have the backing, for me and like a lot of other people who I know, it's starting a business. I hate to be so narrow-minded in this space, but I firmly believe that not only is entrepreneurship the way to that sector of wealth, but I totally believe that entrepreneurship is the way that you can change anything. You know why? Because entrepreneurship is the only place in which I can create money out of thin air. And tomorrow I'm absolutely going to do another conversation or another live stream, and I'm going to tell you, how do you create a business with no money? How do you do what I've done? I've created 3 multiple 6-figure businesses, and then I went on to build a 7-figure business. And I didn't do that because I was smart. Hell, if you know anything about my story, you know that I was a single mom who put her kids to bed hungry, and I was pissed off most of the time. I was frustrated, I was upset, I was angry. I didn't know what to do next. I actually spent a lot of my time just being angry. I was angry about my circumstances. But one thing I know for certain is that you make a change in your life when you are emotional. Now stay with me. You make a shift and you make a change when you decide, you know what, I've had enough, I'm done. I'm either overworked, I'm frustrated, I'm underappreciated, I'm sad, I'm very angry, I'm very distraught, right? I'm very hopeless. Whatever it is that you're feeling, you make a decision when you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do next. I don't know what's going to happen or what can happen. So for me, it was totally making a decision. Of course, I would have loved to have gotten a job like other people and, start out and take me and my 2 little kids, and I would have loved to have made $150,000 at a job. And for some people, that is the way. They have the ability to do that. But for people like me, for people who didn't have the education, they didn't have the background, they didn't have the kudos behind them, they didn't have the work experience, they just had hustle, they had the willingness to work hard, and they had a big heart, which means that they were going to deliver whatever it is that they set to do. What I know for certain is that starting a business and not selling a product, stay with me, is absolutely how I changed it all. So when I think to myself, it's like, you know what? I know that we all come from this mentality. I told someone earlier today, I talked with a client, and she asked me a question, and here's what the question was. The question was around, well, Tiffany, you know what? You must have had parents. You had amazing parents who taught you how to make money. Your parents taught you, they instilled in you this positiveness, they instilled in you this willingness. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I actually did have really killer parents. They were good people who worked really hard and they meant well, but here is the truth. The truth is that my parents taught me to be broke. And they didn't teach me to be broke knowingly. They taught me to be broke because they constantly taught me that I needed to focus on saving. I needed to focus on cutting back. They taught me to focus on being restricted, right, in my thinking about what I could do. And not because they were horrible people. They were amazing people, but they didn't know any better. They didn't teach me to focus on making money. When I had kids and it was so tough and I was so frustrated and I didn't know what to do next, the answer to all the problems that I had, every one in a row, you could just name them. I don't care what it was. Every answer somehow came back to the amount of money that I had. The kind of time I wanted to spend with my kids, the places I wanted to go, the people I wanted to help, the lifestyle I wanted to have, the way I wanted to dress, the places I wanted to eat, where I wanted to visit family members that I wanted to see who I'd never seen before. Health that I wanted to pay attention to, skills. I didn't have a lot of skills. So learning to do new things, like everything resorted to money. It came back to money. So when I hear people talk about the only way to wealth and the only people who make it are the people who invest and they buy real estate, and both things are great, but here's what I know. For both of those things, you need money to make them happen. I need things to make real estate happen, right? Like I need a lawyer, I need a contract, I need money, I need a program, or I need someone to be willing to give me credit or to extend an offering to me. No, I'm not interested in that. That takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of steps. You know what I mean? Like that takes, it's not that it takes a lot of steps, but it takes me, it requires me to have something in place in order for me to make that happen. On the wealth side, where we talk about investing and we talk about stocks and bonds and things like that, all of that's fantastic. But for the everyday person, no, that's not an option because you have to have money to put money inside. But what happens when you're dead broke? You don't have $50 to invest every week or every month or every quarter, right? You're just average. You're either hustling or maybe you're like me. You were hungry. You are hungry. You're in a space where you're like, I just don't know what to do next. Starting a business is absolutely the only way. It is the only way to create money out of thin air. Why? Because I can take who I am at this moment, I can create an offer, and with that offer, I can present it to someone else with this question behind it, which is, do you want this product or service, yes or no? Do you want this product or service, yes or no? Now, I know that for some, it may sound crazy, but here's what I know for sure. Too often we're told that we're not enough, we don't know enough, we're not educated enough, we haven't seen enough, we haven't experienced enough. When I started my very first business, I was in my early 20s, we'll call it that. And if I didn't hear a million times, oh, you're too young, oh, you don't know anything, oh, you haven't experienced, you haven't been through that, you don't know what you're talking about. You wouldn't know the first thing. You know what's so funny about it is that I took a few minutes to listen to people who would feed me. They would talk to me and they would tell me things and they'd give me their opinion about what I should and shouldn't do with my life. And at that time, not only was I desperate for a change, but more importantly, I was living a life that I actually hated and I wanted out of one way or the other. And I would examine, explore, and listen to those people, but none of those people lived the life I wanted. That was my reality. Like, none of those people really lived the way that I wanted. Like, they just didn't. They didn't live the way I wanted. They weren't doing what I wanted. They didn't have what I wanted. And more importantly, that made their opinion invalid. So often we think about starting a business, we think about doing something new, and we're like, well, gosh, I'm just not there yet. I don't have this. And then we create this long list of all these things we got to do, and all these people we got to be, and all these places that have to kind of take place first before we decide to step up to the plate to something that's kind of itching in us. You know what I mean? Like something that's like, I got an itch. I got this talent or this passion or this idea, this genius killer idea. And I'm like, I think I can make a go at this thing. But you know what happens? We totally decide, you know what? I don't think I'm enough. And then when we start playing around with that game of I don't think I'm enough, you know what happens? We take a step back and we're like, you know what? That's probably true. That's absolutely true. Not only are we not enough, but I'm actually beginning to think that I should stay in my place. I'm actually beginning to think that I should stay in my lane. Let me make this like so unbelievably clear. I'm so sure that the only thing that ever stands in the way of what we want and where we are is how we think, right? It's literally where we are and what we want to happen, where we want to be is how we think. So this goes in front of that business, right? That idea that you've got. It's like where you are and where you want to be. And if it's that idea, that business, that product, that service, that thing that you say, oh my gosh, I would be so great at that, I think. Forget the how. Make the how irrelevant. Push it aside. Don't make it part of the equation. Never focus on the how. Instead of keeping that clarity on, oh man, I'm going to own the fact that I think that's a good idea. I'm actually going to own the fact that I think I can do something. I think I can do this. And so for me, when I think about the power of broke, right, and it's for me, I absolutely think this is going to have to be a shift for us as a company. I really want to communicate that space of we've got to stop being broke. Because it's not about our circumstances. It's not about who we know. It's not about where we live. It's not about where we're from. And don't get me wrong, those things play a factor. They absolutely do. I don't disregard that. But what I do know for certain, having come from where I've come from, I should have been a statistic. I should have been a young black girl who should have been another statistic with 2 young kids. But today I stand in a space where I can say I have built these businesses. I've built these businesses so that I can build my dreams. And I did it without the education, without a venture capitalist, a credit card, a loan from parents, or, money that just kind of fell into my lap. I started all of my businesses with no money. It was hustle, hard work, and not allowing myself to think small. That's it. And I think that this last piece, like not allowing myself to think small, I really think that's the biggest part of this whole conversation. I wouldn't let other people let me feel small. I just couldn't. Because at the end of the day, I always only had me. Like you always only have you. You know what I mean? And it's like no matter who's around you, what's around you, what relationships you're in, like all of that becomes irrelevant because as long as you have you, oh my gosh, I'm the greatest thing that I have. I am the greatest friend that I have. I'm the greatest thinker that's in my space because I know me, right? When I close the door at night, it's me. It's me, period. So inside of that space, if other people were going to think small about me, I couldn't think small too. I had to make a choice, and I almost had to make a decision that, flip. I was just going to stand up for myself. So the key component is like, I couldn't and I can't and I refuse to. Even today, I will not listen to the market. I will not listen to other people. I can't. It's not that it's not possible to do so, but I absolutely cannot do that because as soon as you start to think small, you start to view yourself how other people see you instead of literally how God created you and how you create and how you think about you. So it's like I start my day every day asking myself, what do I think about me? What do I think about me? What do I think about me? What do I know to be true? And sometimes, even now, when I'm like, I'm not sure about this thing, you know what I do? I take a quick moment to jot down all of the killer things that I've accomplished. And it's like, dear God, Tiffany Largie, if you have been able to do this, you can surely keep going. That's it. How many times a day do you allow yourself to think small? Like, how many times a day do you look at a situation, a scenario, an opportunity? You look at somebody else and you're like, gosh, if I could only be there, if I could only do that, if I can only see this, if I can only go a little bit further. And then you start to think, oh no, but I'm young, I'm too old, I'm black, I'm white, I'm fat, I'm skinny, I'm this religion, I'm a woman, I'm a man. Like you, not anyone else. You put all these boxes and all these pieces around you, and then you start to say to yourself, oh, you know what? It'll never happen. I totally can't do it. And you know what? Let me give you this list that I created. I'm going to deliver to you. Isn't that some BS? Have you ever heard it? Like, literally what we do is we actually say, you know what? I am going to deliver to you the list that I created about my own shortcomings. What kind of bull is that? No, absolutely not. Those are other people's opinions about you that you are attempting to adopt and make your own, but you can't because you are all you have. I know that for certain. I would never have been able to build the kind of life that I live and stop being broke had I not decided to build a business. But the truth is that even though the conversation is about build a business, it's really about this first part, which is don't think small. Like, whatever you do, don't think small. Because I could have never built anything had I allowed myself to think small. And honestly, that's where the party begins. When you make a commitment, not when you figure it all out, not when you get all the answers, not when everything is laid out. No, it's literally you just making a decision for yourself, by yourself, for yourself, that you're not going to think small. Man, once you do that and you can get the thinking small out of the way, then you will, by yourself, you will own the right to step into whatever it is that you want to be. Period. I don't care where it is, because everything we are starts here. Everything we are, it starts right here. All of the, it hasn't happened, I don't get it, I don't believe it's possible, is here. Every block in your relationship, marriage, bank account, kids, work, friendships, weight, I don't care what it is. I mean, literally, I could probably name a list till forever. It's all here. It's in here. It's in this exact space. There is no other part of you that stops you from making those things a reality. Because the truth is that everybody was built to be a being of creativity. That's why we think. That's why we come up with new ideas. That's why 5 of us could be in the same room and we'll all look at the sky, at a plant, and we'll interpret it differently, and we'll feel differently about it, and we'll all have a different idea. That's why nobody comes up with the same thing. We all don't come up with the same things because we were all created differently. And the worst thing that you could do in this life is to get an idea. It comes, it sits upon you, and it's weighing upon you, and you're like, man, that would be nice. Man, I think I could do that. Oh, I would. And then what you do, you shut it down. You shut it down. You cut it off. You stop it. You quiet it. And either you allow someone else to speak to it, or you yourself you go back to the list. Here are all the things I'm not. Here are all the things that hasn't happened for me. Here are all the things that I don't know how to do. Here are all the skills I don't have. Here's all the knowledge. Here's all the am that I am not. Make a decision. That's where it starts. And everything changes. The game changes when you stop thinking small. So here's my challenge to you. This is what I just did. And this is what I'm going to leave with you. I just made a list of 5 areas where I was thinking too small. Even today, like even right now, even doing an event, having built 7-figure business. I mean, I myself just asked a question, because I cannot ask anybody else on this planet a question to challenge themselves or to think about themselves or to be different or to be bigger if I'm not willing to do it. So I had to ask myself, yo, you know what? Where am I thinking too small? So I created a list and I put 5 specific things. And then what I also did is I put like a bonus question almost, one big area. Where am I thinking too small? That's what it is for today. 5 things. I grabbed a napkin and I did it. I'm sure there is something right around you. There is a piece of paper. There's the back of a notebook. I don't care what it is. There's your hand. Yo, get something and write. I'm going to challenge you. I just challenged myself. 5 things specifically in which you are thinking too small, and then one big area. There's one big conglomerate kind of staring at you, slapping you in the face area. Where are you thinking too small? If this black young woman with 2 small children who needed to be a statistic could build 3 multiple 6-figure businesses, and then I could build a 7-figure business before I turned 30 without money, without know-how, and surely without skill, gosh, if I can do it, I know now for sure that anybody can do it. And that's a fact. I'll see you tomorrow. And tomorrow, the conversation's going to be, how do you create money out of thin air? See ya.